You are listening to The Search for King Midas Tomb by Gabriel Drake, narrated by Mikael Naramore. Chapter 1. A young Claude, body tanned from a summer spent in equal parts diving and lazing about on the beach, dove once more into the crystalline water. His suit was short, tight, and in fashion, despite its orange color. His aunt had been loath to let him wear it to the beach. She was old-fashioned.
"You know, Claude," she said, "I promised that I wouldn't let you get into any trouble. That suit looks like trouble, if I'm not mistaken." "Auntie, how much trouble can I get into diving 50 feet under the surface of the ocean? There are no girls down there, I promise."
He gave his aunt a kiss on the head, and she couldn't help but smile. He really was a good boy, turning into a nice young man. At first she had been nervous about having him for the whole summer. She had never had any kids, had never even been close to being married. The thought of it rarely crossed her mind anymore. In her 20s and 30s, even into her 40s, it had made its way across her thoughts almost every day, just as a matter of fact. One runs into the realities of being single in myriad ways. Happy couples are everywhere, just waiting to remind everyone around them how unhappy they are. She thought that she wouldn't be good at watching after a kid, but what had convinced her was that her nephew wasn't really a kid anymore. He was becoming a man, and she might not have wanted a child to watch, but she could use a man around the house. So she had agreed to watch him for the summer, to let him into her private world that even her family was rarely allowed to visit. Her sister, Claude's mother, had only visited once, and that had been merely for a few days. She lived on the coast of St. Kitts. It was family land, had been in the family for generations, probably ill-gotten gains from a time long past, but she tried not to think about that. It was a ramshackle greenhouse with a tin roof. The tin roof was her favorite part of the house. She liked to hear the violent West Indies rainstorms beat against the tin while she reread one of the 10 books that she kept on her bookshelf. They were all so worn that the titles were barely legible on their cheap trade paperback spines. She had one of these books in her hands as Claude dove again into the ocean, though she knew not what he was doing at that moment. She had stopped worrying about Claude after a while. He never brought any girls by, and he never missed his curfew. That was good enough for her. She flipped her copy of Wuthering Heights past the introduction and the foreword, 2 things that in the history of her ownership of the book she had never read.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?